Well, I give you my advice, but you don't care. I told you not to fool around with me, but you're as cold as ice and you don't care. Go on away with it, honey, and don't come back to me. Well, I told you not to fool with other guys.
Billy Fury was born Ronald Wycherley in Liverpool in 1940. He is considered to be one of the most important UK rock and rollers. So in 1955, he formed a group whilst working full-time as a docker. He started writing songs at that point, and in 1958, he approached an impresario in a club in Birkenhead at a Marty Wilde concert, trying to interest him in buying some of his songs, but he got pushed on stage to perform, and apparently went down very well. He was immediately signed by the impresario and renamed as Billy Fury, and he continued with them on the tour. After not very long, he had to tone down his act. He was taking a leaf out of Elvis Presley's book in terms of the way he performed, and there were complaints. In the 60s, he had a total of 24 hit singles, which apparently is equaled the same as the Beatles. He starred in a couple of films, and then he semi-retired in 1967. In 1973, he came back and did another film and did a tour with Marty Wilde. And eventually, 1983, he died. Hi, my name's Dan. So I've heard of Billy Fury, but I knew little about him before hearing this album. Obviously, I've done some reading now. So this was his first album, and it's considered to be one of the best UK rock and roll albums, certainly of the era. But as far as I can work out, there were no actual hit singles that came from the album. If anybody knows differently, please let me know. I've done some digging more than just Wikipedia, and I couldn't find out any information on any of these songs being hit singles. So I will describe it as rock and roll. It's mostly rock and roll with a few slower ballads. It's the kind of thing that you might expect from a rock and roll act of that time, and it's got similarities to obviously to Elvis Presley, but to people like Buddy Holly as well, that sort of stuff. And it's as far as British rock and rollers go, I guess the other person of note really at the time was Cliff Richard, and this has definitely got a more raw energy to it than Cliff. There are 10 songs on the album, so 4 songs are credited to Billy Fury as the writer, 6 are credited to Wilberforce, but that's also Billy Fury. So he wrote all the songs on the album, and that's quite unusual, not just for the time, which was 1960, but also for rock and rollers. To write their own songs was an unusual thing. So that brings him up in my estimation. It's a decent album of rock and roll, and if you like rock and roll, you not only probably would like this album, but you probably already know this album. One thing that I found of particular note was that the guitar on the album is played by a guy called Joe Brown, who was all over the place with his guitar around that time, but he is the father of probably my favourite British singer, Sam Brown. Anyway, back to the album. I reasonably enjoyed it. I wouldn't rush out and buy it. I wouldn't mind listening to it again. It's all right. What do you think? I'd love to know. Please let me know in the comments below. And that's it from me for now.
Baby, don't you leave me this way.
Don't leave me this way.
Hold it, honey, you promised me you'd never go astray.
Never go astray.
I give you all my money, honey,